And at the time of this recording here, it's well, not so much a day, but just some odd hours after the Emmys, as the 2021 Emmy, ceremony, which unfortunately I didn't get around to watching because I was working on a particular retrospect review of Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor. That episode should be out right now, you know what I mean, while we're recording this. But you have a bit of news to share from that ceremony last night.
Yeah. So, what the thing worth talking about with that ceremony is, well, show that I've been kind of reading up for a hot minute. Get through. Did decent, and this is Ted Lasso, and well, the big sell for that, and why that is a big deal, is because Apple TV actually like get something off the ground. Think about that for a second. Both this show we call it the Queen's Gambit and Ted Lasso did really well. This is both Netflix and what you call them, both Netflix and Apple TV Plus did really well. So like I can't be mad at any of that, to be honest. So I don't know that just like I really didn't think that Apple TV would have picked up as fast as it did. But I really didn't think that Ted Lasso would have done as well as it did. But yeah, it cleaned up at the awards and it get complete validation. Now they just need another big show and they kind of fix now. As I always make the kind of joke I just make is the greatest trick the devil really ever pulled is convincing himself he's not evil now. And yeah, Apple.
Oh,
Really
I like that. I think I actually
yeah.
got to take that from you.
Well, it's already in one of my books, so yeah. Anyway,
Damn it.
yeah. Anyway, that's one thing. Yeah. No. So basically, how I'm thinking about it is that look at the Apple just getting into the TV market in a way that I really didn't think they would have. I really thought they would have failed. Like I really thought they would have failed with this, and they didn't. Like wow, well done. So yeah, props to
Well, speaking
Apple.
of that, right, with Apple TV, there's this show. I think it's called For All Mankind. I think is the name of
Right.
is. But
Yeah,
I
I
was seeing
absolutely
like a lot of praise with that. I haven't jumped on it yet,
no.
though,
Yeah,
but I thought like that was like the show to check out with
no. Well,
Apple
okay.
Apple TV, and then Ted Lasso dropped now.
Right, no, well, For All Mankind, I love as well, right? Great show as well. I think that show is also excellent, but it's not any. It is a show because it's a genre show. I didn't expect it, like similar to how we call it The Expanse now. It's that crowd. It's a little too niche. Again, it's a genre show because it's not really sci-fi. It's more old history kind of thing, but it's still. I could see why people not really into it as much. So it never took off the same way Ted Lasso did. Now. But Ted Lasso ended up being the vehicle. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, For All Mankind is a show that I absolutely love as well. But I didn't. That wasn't the show. That wasn't the horse I was betting on, for lack of a better term, right? Ted Lasso was the horse I ended up betting on, and I ended up being right about it. I was like, all right, well done. I can't believe that it did as well as it did. Now I didn't expect Jason Sudeikis to get best lead now. So I was like, all right, well, would. I mean, yeah, that just would mentioning how there's a big shake up in the landscape now. That is it.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
now I have every reason now to watch Ted Lasso. I know the second season hasn't wrapped up as yet, so I have time to catch up on it. All right, well that's great, man. As far as the Emmys and stuff like that, right? So moving on
right.
now to I believe one that was actually nominated quite a few times for in the Emmys. I don't think it won any at the moment. I could be wrong, but then again, I am not a full stan of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so maybe somebody in the comment section could tell me, hey, yeah, Brooklyn Nine-Nine won some Grammys at some season at some point in time now. But yeah, I will talk about the finale as the final season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, right? So just to kick things off, this is the eighth and final season, which kind of sucks because it's in the title. Like, why you couldn't get 9 seasons, bro? You know what I mean?
For
At
real.
least 8 seasons in a movie.
Right,
Just
for real.
to quote, to kind of quote Community now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but seeing how this season actually started, it kind of makes sense why it is, as they say in the title, One Last Ride. George Floyd happened last year. Black
Right.
Lives Matter happened, and 2020 happened, right? So, if you all remember, 2020 was when, last year was when the first season was. Sorry, this season here was supposed to they was actually in the process of like writing the scripts that they're about now, and because
Right.
of what happened with George Floyd, now they literally just had to, just tear everything up, throw it in the garbage, and just retool everything, just restart from the
Right.
ground up. So that's why now we're getting this final season here now, and the thing is, like, it actually shows in the first couple episodes, right? They actually, especially in the premiere, it actually reflects, how times have changed. Because, yeah, it literally starts in this year now, and, you're kind of following up on
Right.
everyone and seeing just how times have changed, with COVID and, with Black Lives Matter, all that kind of stuff now. And what I would say, just with that episode alone, though, I saw a somewhat somber tone, like almost like, we can't just ignore what happened, in 2020. It happened, and we have to at least acknowledge that it happened. And I thoroughly respect the cast and crew for doing so. But I would admit, though, it did happen. It did leave me a bit worried with that first episode. I was worried that, okay, is this going to be like just this somber, melancholy tone throughout? Like,
Right.
case in point, Rosa, for example, right? Played by my girl, Stephanie Beatrix. She actually leaves the precinct now. She resigns as a detective now. I think for the life of me, this was now brought up in this series. Like, I don't think it happened in the previous one. But yeah, she left now, and she's just trying to help people on the side now. As a private detective, if you will, right? And
Right.
then she's brought up now to help this black woman who is accusing the police of brutality, right? And it just, I don't want to say what happens here, but basically Jake comes in to assist her now. And at the same time now, Jake is a dad now because Amy
Right.
is a mom, right?
Right.
So you have the situation that Hitchcock, for some reason, apparently is vacationing in Brazil, and everybody is just pretty much doing their thing. We also have, Raymond Holt, and
Right.
he is dealing with some, just a personal issue with his husband. Basically, they've separated, and all through the season here, it's just a matter of whether they do reconcile and whatnot, right? And yeah, in a nutshell, that's really what it is. It's just really about, our favorite characters just trying to find their way, what I mean? Just trying to maneuver through these new times and whatnot. But thankfully, the season doesn't really stay too much on that, right? You still have your little hijinks and all that kind of stuff that show up, like, after, like, say, the second or third episode, right? Because the first two are kind of on the somber kind of vibe, right? But it's still funny. You still get your jokes and everything like that, right? But it's
Right,
just
right.
the tone is a lot different. But really, when I mean tone being different, I mean in terms of just the finality of everything is just like, yeah. It's the final season, and literally, like, slight spoiler. Even Jake, and all, like, decides that he wants to resign as well too, because he wants to, stay home and be a full time dad to his son. You know what I mean? Because Amy ends up getting this very 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 serious, like, promotion. So you see
Right.
how it affects them. And yeah, I'll just stop there in terms of that, right? So what I would say with as a final season, though, it is quite enjoyable, though. But I wouldn't lie, though, like I wouldn't call myself the biggest fan of the show, though. But
Right.
it's the same that we all feel when we see a show that we love, what I mean, reach its final stages. But it just kind of like shaking your head, like, wow, but like, I'm not gonna see all you guys again, Jared. And you
Yeah.
feel it throughout, but I can even tell, like, even the cast and all, just like, yeah, boy, like to see last time we're gonna see each other, though. But no lie, though, everybody came through and did their thing. They really ended off the series in fine style. I wouldn't say in high fashion, but more in fine style, though.
Right.
If you're familiar with, like, just the writing and the jokes and the quips and all that kind of stuff, you get that there. But there are oftentimes moments of, just seriousness there, but not too serious, but just like great character building moments, right? I don't know, it was just fun just seeing everybody just doing their thing, whether it's Andy Samberg or whether it's Terry Crews or Melissa Fumero, just everybody just coming and doing their thing. I mean, everybody is just the same lovable, goofy people that you've loved from since season one. And I won't lie though, like there's a little detour here. Like I will confess, like I didn't jump on the bandwagon as soon as it started. I know it was for some people, but for me, like I really got into it when it moved to NBC. That was like okay, because at that point in time I was thinking, all right, the show done, like that's it. And then when it actually moved to NBC, and I was like, okay, cool. So that's when I took the opportunity to check it out, and I was like, okay, yeah. I feel. I get the hype. I see why people really enjoy it so much. I just this how to say like bite-sized just entertainment. Like you just watch it for 20 minutes each episode, and you know what you're getting. You know you're gonna get your laughs. You're gonna get your little dramatic moments here or there. You're just gonna have fun with it though. But one thing though, I think another reason why this show kind of has to wrap up now, kind of unfortunate now, is the kind of propaganda vibe of it. Even though it doesn't mean too much on propaganda, like say your average police procedural show now. But still, again, because of what happened last year, yeah, you know what I mean. It just kind of almost, I should say, almost put a halt, just a stop, sorry, on the whole series. Now. So thankfully, they actually. Yeah, they had no choice. They had to kind of wrap things up there. But deep down inside, I wish, and I just know deep down inside, they could have gone for another season. But, you have to respect the crew involved for doing what they're doing,
Right, yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing about the show. It was one of the shows that actually, for lack of a better term, broke the paradigm of punch down humor. Like, it kind of had to prove a point in the sense of, all right, how to not punch down, ever. Like, ever. And I really, really rate the show for that. Like, it never really engaged in a lot of, like, mean-spirited, 90s humor. It never, the mid-2000s always had that. Sorry to say, like, look, I like a lot of that humor, but it's, a lot of Family Guy and South Park and them days done, right? That bullshit done, making homophobic jokes, making, transphobic jokes, whatever it is, right? And this has largely been quite good at handling itself in that way. But yeah, the big undertone of the whole thing, which was very uncomfortable, was what we call the propaganda stuff, right? It was still promoting police work, still promoting a lot of stuff that's like not we could debate about that, but I don't think it was the particularly healthiest show in that sense. And yeah, they did that, and I'm glad that the show had to like come reckon with that paradigm. I know I do, like, to be honest, I did expect them to address it at some point, but like given with the real world scenario and what happened, like all right, well they kind of forced their hand in doing it as it is. So yeah, I really appreciated the show for that. But yeah, I myself haven't gotten a chance to see it, unfortunately. So we'll see.
Yeah. And as you brought up that now, well, it's not like a major theme though, but one of the things, actually, slight spoiler, that Amy gets involved in is police reform, and you could kind of understand, given the landscape of how things were last year, why it had to be like that. You know what I mean? So it's not like all cops are bad. Like I remember this tweet that Stephanie put out like last year, like I play a cop, but that doesn't mean that all cops are bad or something like that. This paraphrasing here now. Yeah, so once again though, it's you seem likable, lovable, I should say, characters just doing their thing. But I love that they kept things very contemporary. It's not like, okay, we're just gonna brush off everything that happened last year. No, it happened, right? But as I said before, I was worried that it was going to lean too much on that, right? But thankfully it doesn't. And that's not to say that those first 2 episodes are bad or anything like that. It's just again, it's just. You're not gonna see these characters again now, so you just have that kind of feel like, wow, like I kind of have like a kind of bittersweet feeling, if you will, you know what I mean? But I will say though, just before we wrap up now, the finale, well, actually this 2-parter called The Last Day, that was pretty good as well. It actually incorporates a famous aspect of the show. That's all I'll say without spoiling it. And makes it like, okay, well, this happens on the last day, and it makes perfect sense when you think about it, right? You get all your crazy hijinks, it's just one after the next, so, but they bring a lot of heart and humor to it as well, too, and the way how it ends, though, like, just as a whole, I could kind of see, like, a movie springing from it one day, like, I don't know, like, I just keep thinking about the whole Community, seasons in the movie thing that, like, there's somewhat of a possibility that you may have, like, a spin-off or something like that, maybe, but I doubt it, seeing how, things are right now. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean they end it off in fine fashion though. Fans are really really going to enjoy it. And people who are just riding with it from day one, they're gonna enjoy it as well. I guess the only people who won't like it are people who just don't like the show for whatever reason, right? So yeah, I mean not the most perfect way of ending the series though, but in true 99 fashion, they just kind of did like, yeah, we're just gonna have a blast, we're just gonna have fun one more time with you guys, with the audience, right, before we ride off into the sunset, right? So I can't fault them for that though. It's just, again, I got 9 seasons as a whole, man, you know what I mean? So as a whole, with the season here, I'm feeling a light not like 9, oops, a light 4 to 5, man. This was good. This was a good way to wrap things up, man.
Right.
Not as heavy and not as sad as you might think it like how I assume it was going to be from the first episode, but nah, I mean they did their thing, man. So I can't knock them for that, man.
It's a show. Yeah, I mean it's a show I always appreciated.
Yeah. I was gonna say how basically this is the first time we're talking about the series, so I was gonna mention but overall thoughts on the series as a whole.
Right.
But yeah, go on.
No, yeah. Andy Samberg is somebody who I always liked from his days, SNL, Lonely Island, that stuff. And from day one, I really enjoyed the show. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, but I did. So yeah, that is about that.
Yeah, same here too. Like even though I got into it fairly late, though, I was like, wow, like why wasn't I on this from the jump? And I mean, this is coming from a fan of Lonely Island as well too, And one thing that always kind of always stood out to me though is that it, like, unlike The Office, for example, where it kind of embraces the mockumentary single camera style, this one kind of does it, but doesn't. Kind of is like an anti-version of it though. So like, yes, we will have the random camera zooms and all that, but we're not like doing a mockumentary. We're just doing this as a style. Like, this is our take on that sort of Office style basically of the filmmaking. You know what I mean? So there's little things like that I really appreciate though. But really for me, what made the series work was just the chemistry between everyone, just between the main cast. How they're just able to just throw these quips just quickly, and ever so often just like some of this kind of fly over your head though. But they work, right? And then also like there's the supporting characters as well. Like for me, Pimento, Jason Mantzoukas, like still my favorite supporting character in that show. Period. He is like every time he shows up, just hilarious from start to end, man. And yeah, it's just. Again, how crazy and kooky and downright lovable these characters are, Trent. And in closing though, you'll appreciate where everybody ends up. It's really satisfying in that sense though. So the show as a whole, I'll just give a 4 out of 5, man. Really solid modern TV series, and one that I honestly wouldn't mind jumping back on be from season 1 episode 1. I just kind of go on this ride again. So, Ricardo, I'd recommend checking out season 8, man. You should enjoy it.
Right, yeah. No problem.
Yeah. All right, and to close off TV, you'll be talking about the first few episodes of Why the Last Man. This is from a comic book series, which I still haven't read. I know, like, I was always, like, aiming to do it, but just time. I just didn't know anything about the premise. I just love the title. There's just something about that title, right? But I saw the trailer for the show, and I was like, okay, this is what it's about. All right, but we make it, I could tell they can update things and to keep things contemporary, very touching on like gender issues and stuff like that. So I thought that'd be pretty interesting seeing how it would adapt to our times now. But take it away, Ricardo. Why the Last Man?
All right. So in terms of television pitch, what if Walking Dead mixed with, what do you call it? The Handmaid's Tale, right? In terms of appeal and aesthetic and approach. That's at least the TV pitch for it. Basically what it is, it's basically something happens that causes effectively anyone with a Y chromosome, so effectively any quote-unquote male at birth, that person, what if they just suddenly die? And it's this brutal virus that just ravages the planet. Almost everybody at the same time, effectively all men, is wiped out completely. So, that's pretty much the end of civilization, right? Because, except for one man and his monkey, called Uric. And basically what the premise is that, he has to survive in this post-apocalyptic scenario about, sorting out all of that, jazzy nonsense about the end of the world. And basically that's it. That's the story. I was kind of a fan of this comic, right? I thought it was a cool premise. It was, well, at the time, it was what it was. I mean, now I'd imagine it feels a little dated in terms of some of the gender politics. A little dated, not too dated. But it works for what it is. It's in terms of the show itself, it's pretty cool. Like a lot of the action and the premise is good. They set up the characters really, really well. Diane Lane is excellent in this. Like, she really saves it and pulls it together. But everybody else is good too. Like, I can't be mad at anybody else for what it's trying to do in terms of its jokes and premise. And then it really sells the brutality of the situation. By the way, this is what Wonder Woman 2 should have been about, to be honest. Like, it should have been just a bad guy who wanted to kill off all men. Like, that would have been a easy plot line instead of some nonsense wish rock crap. Anyway, the first episode just builds up all the characters who, right, this I forget her name, but she's a secret agent, this black woman, then Uric himself, the main character, then Diane Lane is, I forget what she is, she's basically the equivalent of like a mix of Nancy Pelosi and AOC, like that's what they modify us, and she's like one of the main characters, and she works opposite the president, and she's like this kind of uber, again, these stereotypical feminist figure types, politicians now, she wearing a pink pantsuit and, all of that stuff. But they set that up really well for the conceit and the premise. You have Uric himself, who's a kind of Uric. Well, by the way, Uric is his son. But he's like this kind of loser magician type, even though his parents are relatively wealthy and are both, both politicians and in DC, and they live in DC and make a lot of money. They basically pay his rent. And then his sister, who's kind of I think she's a drug addict and whatnot. I really forget the thing because it changes so much from the comic, and I remember the comic. But yeah, it's in the same vein as The Boys. Like, if you're like The Boys and you're into that show for what it is, it's like that. It does the Walking Dead thing. And what I'll say with the show, what I hope it does not do, I just hope it doesn't become The Walking Dead. I really hope it doesn't become The Walking Dead. You see how The Walking Dead started off really strong, started off the premise really strong and then kind of pitted out. This show could unfortunately...
It's practically a soap opera now that nobody asks for.
Yeah, it went on. The problem with Walking Dead is that it's going on too goddamn long. That's the problem. Like, that's the main problem.
I know, right? Yeah.
Right, and
I think they say right now, I think it's, I don't know if it's 10 or 11 in right now, but I think it's the last one or something.
Yeah, by now, they're wrapping up from what I understand. So I think we getting a couple movies with Rick and Michonne, and I think that's it. And I don't know if Fear the Walking Dead is going on. Because to be fair, look, it's a franchise and they're giving a bunch of people work, right? But like, as a story, they really need to start wrapping up the nonsense, right? Because it really, what you call long in the tooth now, unfortunately. But this is a decent show. It's not bad at all. I really don't have a problem with any of it. Acting is great so far. It sets up the premise really well. It's something that you could imagine like a bunch of weirdos on the internet melting on over, but no, that's the whole point of it, is to set up that premise and make it work as it is. It doesn't subvert any expectations just yet, but I really want to see what they're going to do with it. As I said, it's a thing that was like a really cool, shocking idea back when it was out. At the time, so I can imagine that somebody would have been like, oh, this is so cutting edge back then. But now it's like, all right, whatever. As I said, I just want to see where it goes. But yeah, first 3 episodes pretty strong. They set it up really, really well. And yeah, in terms of like the usual camera stuff and cinematography and whatnot, yeah, all of that is amazing and well done. No complaints here. So yeah, that's it. I strongly recommend it as it is. No complaints here from me at all.